All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Thursday, January 23rd, 2025, a very cold and wintry Thursday. So today we're going to be having class in Zoom. So this session is being recorded. The first thing I want to talk about today is lab safety. Now, again, obviously we're not in the lab today, but we will be next week, and we will be doing some wet labs throughout the semester. So, and I know this does say animal biology. We do use the same lab safety PowerPoint for all of our labs. So if you had Lori or Don or Richard, whoever you had for general E&P, you may recognize some of this. So again, I'm not going to spend too terribly much time on this. Um, we really don't do any dissecting. So I won't really talk much about the dissection aspects. Like I say, in advanced A&P, we do a little bit more with chemistry. So there's a video link there if you really need a little extra than what I'm going to provide you with today. So we're going to look at biohazards, chemical hazards, physical hazards, electrical hazards, and fire hazards. So we're going to just look at different types of hazards. And a hazard is something that uh, has the potential to cause harm. So a hazard is a something. Okay, it's a typically it's some sort of an object. So think of a hazard as that way. I mean, it could be a behavior or an action dealing with an object, but generally speaking, the hazard is a something. A risk is a little more potential or possibility or ethereal. So it's the chance of something happening based on a hazard being involved. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think it probably does. So the hazard is the thing. The risk is what may happen when the thing is involved. All right. So some examples I put in here. If in our lab, we have our cubby holes. We could put our backpacks and whatever else in those cubby holes. So generally on lab days, when we're performing wet labs, you want to keep the backpack in the cubby. In fact, you really aren't going to need much of anything. I supply you with all of the materials, all of the lab supplies, everything you need. You may need a writing instrument, but even I can even provide you with that. So, my the goal is really to minimize. We'll never eliminate risks, but we do want to minimize risk by paying attention to hazards. So, paying attention to kind of the housekeeping aspect, to the clutter, that's a big deal for minimizing risk. Um, so, handle hazard number two, some of you, if not all of you, will be taking, good morning, welcome in. You're going to take microbiology. Now, we generally aren't going to be using live cultures or anything that's going to, make you ill. Just like in physiology, we generally are only using non-toxic chemistry. Same with these microorganisms. They're synthetic. They're either way, you're still going to treat them in the microbiology lab as if they were, you know, um, botulinum toxin or something, staphylococcus or whatever. So you still want to handle them like they are what, they are the real thing. So we definitely, the risk when we're handling microorganisms certainly is that someone could become infected. So again, we want to minimize risk by paying attention to how we handle the items. Concentrated acid. We do chemistry a little bit in advanced. We have an actual chemistry course that uses our lab. So there are some acids that we do use occasionally. And again, an acid can cause some skin damage. It can cause chemical burns. So we're definitely paying attention to that. So so anyway, awareness is the number one factor. Communication also up there with awareness. So generally speaking, again, someone could trip, backpack's in the aisle, you're aware of the surroundings, you saw the backpack, you move it out of the way, removing the risk. So, again, just like in the real world, just because maybe it's not your hazard that's sitting out there, but you may recognize or notice someone else has left a hazard. It's not your job to blow the whistle and write up a ticket and say, "Yep, got to take better care of your hazards." No, no, no. We're in this together, so you want to help each other out, and yeah, that's all there is to it. So anyway, I don't want to belabor this, so we're gonna keep moving. Again, you're going to be you're going to be taught how to handle all this. You're a faculty member, your teacher, your instructor will always be around, so you don't have to feel like you're out on an island and left to your own devices. And if something happens, oh my gosh, no, 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 that's nothing like that. These are generally kind of worst case scenarios that we've maybe or maybe haven't dealt with in reality, but just in case, we want to cover them all. So we provide you with everything you need. Lab attire, as far as like aprons, PPE, as far as masks, goggles, eyewear, gloves, whatever you need. No food and drink. We talked about this last week. Definitely no food. And if you do have a drink, it's got to stay over in the cubbies or even out in the hall on the cart. And then, of course, housekeeping practices, right? Cleaning up after we leave. Um, what are you going to wear to lab? Again, well, it's middle of winter. We generally don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. But if you do have long hair, you need to tie it back. Clothes need to cover up down to the wrists and down to the ankles. So really, what we want to minimize exposure of our skin. Certainly, shoes need to be closed-toed, and we want to keep the loose clothing, especially like scarves and that right now in the winter. We generally want to keep those away. Like a bunch of necklaces dangling around. Um, so common sense usually prevails. A lot of students, so this side's acceptable, this side's unacceptable. A lot of students, generally speaking, especially in the winter, they wear appropriate attire. One of the trickier things, I suppose, during labs in the winter is they're usually like bulky coats, maybe. And we don't really have anywhere to put those. I mean, I guess you could shove them in the cubby, but so yeah, put them on the back of your chair. That's a potential hazard, right? If you got a trench coat or a big winter coat and part of it's kind of on the chair, part of it's hanging in the aisle. See, that's a hazard we have to be aware of. So, but anyway, I can't prevent that really because I can't tell you leave your jacket in the car or whatever. So anyway, we do what we can to minimize risk. All right. So what we will provide you with, and it says you must purchase. You don't need to purchase the goggles. I have them if you need them. And then of course disposable gloves I provide you with. And again, no food or drink. Absolutely. This one especially. We just want to keep things away from our mouths. We want to keep things from getting onto the lip of our coffee cups. Which again, generally speaking, I mean, I'm even kind of weird about keeping stuff in the cubbies. So I do have that cart. I'm probably going to just kind of put that cart right outside the door so you can pile up your drinks on that. Because we do have a microbiology class in that room, and we do have chemistry in that room. So, the other one I wanted to mention too is, especially again now this time of year, lips get dry, lip balm. Whew, that's a tough one. Try to, maybe do that outside the room and just generally keeping things away from your mouth in the lab is a good idea. Next up, we're going to keep the lab stations clean. It's a fully refurbished lab space. And by the way, my group on Wednesday is the last group that's in there before you, and I make sure that they clean. So you don't have to clean the bench and the desk at the start of class. That's already been done for you. But you will clean it at the end, and pick up your messes because I have a lab in there on Friday morning too. So basically Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is when I'm in there. So I want to make sure that you guys keep it clean. And furthermore, if you do notice when you come in, if something is amiss, something's dirty, something's gross, something didn't get picked up, let me know. Because again, like I say, I was the one that was in there before, so that's kind of on me and my group. So yes, please on Thursdays, if there is something, just let me know. Dissection tools, we're not going to be doing any dissections. This should be familiar to you though. Dissections. I'm just going to zip past that. We do have back by the fume hoods on the one of the countertops, you'll see a hard red plastic container. That's for sharps. In the back room, I don't have this visible. This is in Andrew's workspace. But if we do, oh, by the way, in this one, I doubt we're going to be using anything that would end up, because I don't think we're going to be using scalpels or needles or pipette tips. So I don't think we're going to be needing this, but if we do, it's there. Broken glass, we may break some glass. We are using some heat and some glassware this semester. If we do break glass, just let me know. I've got the special tools and the special place for it. So there's always a special place for broken glass. Anyway, GTC is a preserved specimens. Again, we're not dealing with any of those. If we were, we'd just throw them in the garbage anyway. Um, a biohazard. What is a bio? So we talked about hazards a little bit. Um, a potential kind of a physical item. So a biohazard is a biological agent that could be a hazard to humans or the environment. So bacteria, fungi, this is your microbes, microbiology stuff. Blood, we do, we know you guys already did blood typing. If you didn't do blood typing in general, I have the kits. We could always do it again in advance. But generally, the, the biohazards that we use are not that hazardous, I suppose, because they're non-toxic, safe for students to use. But anyway, if you cut yourself and need to use some gauze to, clean up the blood or something, we generally don't want to throw that in the garbage. We have a biohazardous waste bag. This is right next to the biohazard bin. So this and this are right next to each other. Kind of, if you remember, kind of where the fume hoods in the back corner, kind of by where Kyle was sitting last week. You'll see these on the counter. Let's see. So, like, if again, this would be for like soft stuff, cotton swabs. You could even put plastics in here, paper towels. So, microbiology uses this quite a bit. We don't really use that. Do not put in this, do not put, or the bin. So either this or this. Do not put glass. Remember, glass goes in the special bin. Uh, this, this is, um, sharps go in here. Okay. So don't put sharp things, broken microscope slides, scalpel blades, needles. None of that goes in this bag. So basically, this is, like I say, mainly like soft stuff. All right. Gloves. I've seen students throw gloves in there. Generally, again, only if you get blood on the gloves or some sort of biohazard on the gloves, but usually we just throw those in the garbage, okay? Um, but again, if they do get something on them, then we can put them in there. Okay. Lab coats, same thing. Those can just go in the garbage, but if you do get blood or something on there, they can go in there. Uh, this is animal biology. Again, this is advanced A&P. We may use some chemicals. Again, we'll have PPE. The chemicals we use are non-toxic. If we do use any acids, I will let you know, and we'll use the fume hood if we have anything volatile. But again, like I say, we're going to be doing some digestive enzyme stuff. So we will have some hydrochloric acid for one of the labs. So that'll be later on in the semester. You'll be fully prepped and um, we'll make sure that there aren't any issues. But yeah, you're going to be doing some cooking and some mixing later on in the semester. So again, chemicals will be used. So we're going to make sure that we take care of biz with that. We do have safety data sheets. So if you do need some extra info, I've got a 3-ring binder that that discusses each of the chemicals that we may be encountering and how to handle them, how to dispose of them. So like I say, we'll talk about that and look at that when it's appropriate. But we also nowadays with the internet, the SDS is available online. Chemical splash is an eye wash station. If you do get some, which again, you're gonna have goggles on, so you shouldn't get anything in your eyes. But if you took them off or something happened, we do have an eye wash station. It's right by the first aid kit. Remember the wall, and I'll show you this next week in class. But along the wall where the cubbies are, and the door to go into Andrew's back room, right when you walk in, that wall with the cubbies, that wall has the first aid kit, and then you'll see something that looks like this, but it's yellow. You'll see a triangle with a shower head. So we have a chemical shower, and right next to that is a eye wash station. So next week when we're in class together, I'll just show you those. So remember, eye wash station, use of, and then the safety shower. Chemicals, all the chemicals we use can actually be disposed of according to the SDS down the drain. So we don't have to worry about us handling any special chemicals. Um, if we spill any chemicals, we'll clean them up. Like I say, I'll be right there. We never put spilled chemicals back into the bottle. If once they spill or they're done, we don't use them. If we have to remeasure, we just remeasure using new chemical. So, but yeah, we don't return any spilled stuff. Solids, if we spill those, we'll sweep them up and put them in the waste basket. Again, if there are any hydrochloric acid, if there's any spills that are, intense, which there shouldn't be, we don't really use any intense chemicals, except we do use hydrochloric acid. We can dilute it with water and then, like I say, wipe it up. If we, we don't, I won't provide you with enough material for this bullet to even matter. So this would be the only one who would be spilling large amounts of liquid would be either me or Andrew. So we don't have to worry about that. And again, you'll be using gloves and have your goggles on. Here's another look at kind of the triangle, and that's the chemical shower. Ours is yellow in Elkhorn. And then right next door to that, you'll see a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher. So we're not going to be using open flame. We're going to be using hot plates. So if you do get burned, you're not going to catch on fire. You're going to have maybe like a blister or something. Which brings me to this, and then I'll go back to the first aid kit is also along the wall with the cubbies. So if you do get, hey, good morning. If you do get any, a cut or a burn or anything, I have a first aid kit I can help you with taking care of that. Okay. So anyway, fire and evacuation. There's an exit right by our room. So if we have to evacuate, we will do that. But now this is important. You're going to see these little kind of rubber looking oven mitts. You are going to be handling hot glassware, so you want to make sure. And again, I'll be right there with you. Um, and anyway, you'll have what you need, and I'll be managing what you do. And again, do not heat empty glassware. That tends to weaken it and it'll break. And certainly don't pour cold liquids into hot vessels or hot liquids into cold vessels. Okay, so we want to prevent glass breakage. But again, if we do break some glass, no big deal. I've got the container to put it in. All right, electrical hazards. We're going to be using hot plates, and on your lab desks, there are plugs. So we're going to want to make sure we keep this doesn't show the cord, but this does have a cord. You see it's got a digital readout, but this will be plugged in. Good morning. This will be plugged in to your lab station. So you're going to want to and I want to remind you, I see a couple of you have made it. Good morning and welcome. I am recording this session, so if you missed anything from the beginning, You can rewatch it if you want. Um, but yeah, as soon as we're done, um, it usually takes, I don't know, about a half an hour at the most, for me to upload the video, and I'll send a link, and then you'll be able to watch it if you need to. All right, so anyway, if we're going to be plugging these in, we want to keep the cords out of the way. And again, if things are faulty, if there's anything weird, not just accidents, but if there's something you're unsure of, just let me know. It's a small room. We're not dealing with a ton of people. I don't disappear when lab begins. I'll be right there with you. So if anything weird's going on, I am probably aware of it already. Um, or if any accidents happen, I probably have already witnessed it happen. But not always. I can't be everywhere at once. Don't hide things. Don't be sneaky or weird. You know, you don't have to announce it to everybody either. If you don't feel comfortable that way, just be like, hey, Mr. Yoakum or Kevin, I need help. So anyway, that's pretty much it. The rest of this is just a little bit of a review of what we did. Remember, we want to prevent hazards by anticipating and being aware. So, dressing appropriately, making sure no food or drink, putting our backpacks and any other clutter over in the cubbies, and just generally being present, and aware of what's going on and paying attention, and you'll be good to go. All right. So anyway, and again, next week when we're together, I'll show you, specifically. I'll do a quick rundown. Remember this first aid kit? Remember the shower? Remember the eye wash station? Oh, how about the fire extinguisher? Yep, there it is. So we'll go back through that. Okay. All right. So that's that, for lab safety. All right. Questions, comments, concerns on lab safety. Okay, good. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to do is go in to McGraw Hill, and then I want to pull up case study one and talk about that a little bit. But before we do, I do want to talk about McGraw Hill, briefly, and even go through. Let's see it, and again, it's on my end, so it's probably going to show up looking different than what you see. Yep, sure enough, and that's okay. So what I'm going to do. Oh, good. Eight of you have already done this. Excellent. Very, very good. Four of you are in the process of doing it. That's 12. And I think I have 18 of you. So that's good. So roughly maybe six of you are still attempting to purchase. And that's fine as well. I do want to show you a couple of things real quick. I'm going to get my dummy account going first. So remember, you might get, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's see if it'll launch assignments. No, it's not going to show me that. I was trying to log in with like a dummy account. Let's see, and so I can show you. It looks like you guys are all doing pretty good, so I don't think I need to mess with that. So let me just go into the labs then. McGraw Hill, log in. Okay. Go to my faculty one. Oh, for crying out loud. All right, so let's try this again. See what I mean by McGraw Hill can be kind of putsy. For the most part, it actually works really well. Let's see. Sign in. McGraw Hill Connect. Do-do. Oh my gosh, this isn't the right place either. Bear with me. Oh, here we go. My courses. There we go. Maybe not. This is not where I want to be. I need McGraw-Hill Connect. Weird. So, yeah, who knows what all that was about, but we made it, so it doesn't matter. All right, advanced A&P. So actually, more of you may have done stuff because I do have this other link that you guys do as well. So in fact, I'll just use that one. Okay, and then I'm going to click Student View. All right, so this is what you're going to see, or what you should see with your McGraw-Hill. We finally made it. Okay, so you're going to have 12 labs. A couple of them have double or two, so they're technically 16 total. They're 30 points apiece. Now, again, when you see an A and a B, this would be 15 points, 15 points. So I saw most of you, well, ha over half of you have already done lab one. I do want to do a quick rundown for those who haven't done it or who are maybe stuck, because there are a few potential little mini glitches that sometimes occur with dragging and dropping and clicking. So this is what generally all of your labs will look like. You're going to have kind of an introduction to the concept. So please read these. Please go through these. These have the information you need to successfully perform the lab. So if you don't read these, if I just click go to the sim, uh, you might miss out on a few things. So we're going to it tells you what you're doing in the lab. So good idea to read through it. Biceps brachii, triceps brachii reflex. So again, we're looking at the biceps, you'll recall, is the anterior aspect of the upper arm. Triceps is the posterior aspect of the upper arm. And when we look at musculature and we're testing out reflexes, we're dealing with the nervous system. So we're actually going after the tendon that connects the muscle to the bone. Then we're going to see the Golgi tendon organ and all of this action for electrical impulse. And so we always have kind of a subtle bit of electricity firing off in those tendons to kind of keep our proprioception and to keep our joints so they're not in our bodies, they're not being, just a blob on the ground. So, um, so um, so anyway, we definitely want to remember or recall Golgi tendon organs and generally how electricity is contained within the tendons of our muscles. All right, and then the patellar reflex, of course, the knee, that's the famous one where the doctor taps you with the hammer on the knee. And then calcaneal, of course, relates to the heel and that kind of Achilles region. And then the plantar, that's going to be dealing with the bottom of the foot. So we're going to check each of these reflexes. Now, reflexes, you'll recall, have 4 to 5 main components. We're going to have the receptor. And the receptors oftentimes for us, is going to be in the skin. If I touch something sharp, or like just now, I reached my arm back and whacked my wrist on a little side table, which feels really good. uh, but anyway, so there are nerves all over within my skin, and those are going to be receptors, so they receive information. It detects the stimulus, and that stimulus is going to get picked up by what we call a sensory neuron. So, in more specifically, we would refer to as an afferent with an A neuron. So, this afferent system with an A, I always think of it as afferent starts with an A, always away. Afferent goes away from the stimulus or from the receptor, which is getting the stimulus. But so afferent away from the stimulus. So it goes toward the nervous system. So, all right, so afferent goes away. So this is the sensory portion. Touch something sharp, hot, spiky, soft, whatever that sensation is or that stimulus is, that's picked up by an afferent neuron, also known as a sensory neuron. That's going to deliver the information of the signal to the spinal cord and brain. Okay. And now in the spinal cord, we may have, it's not always there, it depends on the type of stimulus, but there is oftentimes what's called an interneuron. So the interneuron is located right here between, remember, inter means between. Uh, so I touch something sharp, you can see they've got a nail. Oh, that one went through the skin, picked up by the sensory receptors. We travel on along that afferent pathway till we get um, all the way to the spinal cord, and we go in the dorsal root. So the sensory comes in the back door, the dorsal root, and then we get to the spinal cord. So these are spinal nerves. This is a spinal nerve right here. So remember in lab we had the vertebral columns. They had little yellow rubber tips coming off of it, which again we'll look at next week. I can show you next week. Those are the spinal nerves. So depending on what part of the vertebral column and what part, where the sensation's coming from, that sensory is going to travel along a specific sensory or afferent nerve. So anyway, once we get into the spinal cord, into that gray matter, remember the spinal cord is gray matter with white matter around it. So we may have what's called an interneuron. And again, inter means between. And so the nerve signal is going to get processed by this interneuron. Now, the interneuron can kind of make a decision on how to proceed. Now, if I touch something really hot or really sharp that has potential to damage my flesh, I need a quick and immediate response that maybe doesn't involve my brain, at least at the moment. So the signal will come in, the sensory signal will come in, the interneuron will pick up the intensity of the signal. And at that point, it's going to send a signal up the spinal cord and basically up the elevator. So we're going to go. We're going to elevate that signal. We call it on the ascending. The elevator goes up. Ascending tracks are sensory. So we're going to get an ascending tract carrying the sensory signal up to the brain. But in the meantime, if I'm still touching this, hot plate or this fire or this flame, and I'm waiting for the brain to get the signal to say, "Oh yeah, go ahead and move your hand away from that flame," there's damage potentially happening to my fingers. So the other thing that interneuron will do, depending on the intensity of the stimulus, so this is kind of cool, it'll send an immediate motor signal. We call this an efferent pathway with an E. So it's like an effect. So we'll send an effect or a motor signal down this motor pathway to effect some sort of change or movement, a response, basically. So you can see we then get this motor nerve ending at this myoneural junction or neuromuscular junction in the muscle that's going to trigger a response to move the hand away from the nail or the burning object or whatever it might be. So again, the interneuron, it can help to elicit a quick response, and in the meantime, the brain is also getting the signal. So hopefully that makes sense. The again, we have the interneuron that's going to provide information to the brain as well as transmitting to this efferent or motor pathway. And then we have ultimately then the what's called the effector would be the gland or the muscle that's going to respond to the stimulus. So stimulus comes in, response goes out. Very basic. This is psychology 101. This is Anatomy 101. Oh, I see something in the chat. Question, OpenStax. Yes, yep, that's right. No, the thing about OpenStax, it's the thing about all anatomy books, not just OpenStax, okay? Um, the thing about anatomy textbooks and the thing about the way we do our good question too. I meant to mention this last week, but general A&P and advanced A&P at Gateway are set up as full. We in general we do the full body, and then in advance we go back through and do the whole body again. Yeah. So, but we get more details regarding. Um, physiology specifics. So yes, Kaio, kind of a long-winded answer to a short question. Yes, you will use OpenStax. You will be going through the same chapters potentially. So, like for nervous system, you would go to is it chapter 7 or 8? Anyway, you'll go to that chapter in OpenStax. Here, I can pull it up. I'll pull it up in a second. But yeah, you can go to OpenStax nervous system chapter because you're going to need to review a little bit, right? You need to, like some of the stuff I'm talking about, I'd go through this in general. I don't know, you guys all have different teachers, so I don't know what they go through, but and I don't know what your experience and what you went through too yourselves, what your knowledge base is. But you should remember that the brain and spinal cord form the central nervous system. You should remember the nerves form the peripheral nervous system. You should remember that there's the breakdown of the autonomic nervous system versus the somatic nervous system, and that we have um, sympathetic versus parasympathetic. Like those are things we cover in general, but because advance is so heavy on the nervous system and the endocrine system and basically what we're talking about today, the stimulus response idea, very basic. Really, the whole semester kind of goes back to this stimulus response. When I give the body a certain chemical or the body's lacking a certain chemical, what kind of a response do the cells do? So yeah, you'll just go back into OpenStax, and because hopefully when you did general AMP, when you did OpenStax, you weren't getting too deep into the physiology. Like I generally just have my students do the basics with general regarding what is it, and then we try to not do as much with how does it work. So yeah, you'll use the same book and go back through. We do it is a lot of content. I know. The nervous system, especially. Remember the Padlets. Um, so anyway, let me do this real quick. Um, so this is what, yeah, it's a lot, but it's lifelong too. So I don't want any of you to ever get discouraged by the amount of information that you're not gaining, and the amount of information that it's possible to gain. It's endless, and you don't, and you only have 14, 15 weeks, right? And then then now this semester, you have another 14, 15. So really, I mean, you're talking like combined like 30 weeks, that's barely 7 months to learn, you know. So that's again, that's why it's really important to be open to being a lifelong learner because a lot of stuff in the clinical setting, if you didn't quite get it here, you'll get it in the clinical setting for sure. Biceps reflex. Does it let's see broad rubber side. I don't know. We'll just do that. So pointed rubber side. So anyway, select the reflex hammer. So I just click it once and let go. I don't hold it or anything. So now I've just clicked it once. And then it pretty much, I can move it around and it's going to guide me to where I want to use the crosshairs to guide your thumb over the biceps tendon. So biceps tendon right around in there. Boom. I tap my thumb and it elicited a response. Record your observations and then I can return the hammer, record my observations in the lab data. Okay, quick lab data, biceps movement. Did we get flexion or extension? Well, it's maybe hard to tell, but he did decrease the angle of the joint, so we got flexion at the elbow. And then we go to phase two. Okay. Metallic tip. How about that? So that's what happens if you miss it, right? It doesn't say, well, too bad. You got to move on. Let's miss it again. Oh man, shoot. I thought it was the tip. Are you sure it's not? Oh, it must be this then. See. So anyway, so it's low. The point is for you to learn. It's a learning opportunity, etc. This isn't like gotcha or, oh man, you guys don't know what you're doing. It's nothing like that. So if you don't know and you put one of those, it's going to help you get it figured out. So you select the reflex hammer again, I just tap it, and now I'm holding it, and then I just wait until I can find the crosshairs. Oh, there they are. Oh, nothing happened. There we go. See, did you notice that? I click it, nothing happened. Why is that? Well, I'm in the belly of the muscle up here. The tendon's going to be down here. There we go. So we tapped it. We got some movement. That is going to be extension of the elbow. Record your observations. So we come down to lab data, extension at the elbow. And then we click go to phase 3. All right, patellar. So this is the doctor's and a tap on the your patellar tendon. Do we want the broad? Do we want the tip, the broad rubber, or the pointed rubber? Let's try broad rubber. There we go. Good. Okay, so the broad rubber side. So we just grab that. Come over. Whoop, there's the crosshairs. Now again, notice crosshairs go all the way down. If I click, is something going to happen? Nope. What if I come up here, right on the kneecap? Ooh, nope, nothing happened. So again, I want to align it to right where that patellar tendon. So this quadricep group comes down and inserts right on the top of the superior anterior portion of the tibia. There we go. We got it going there. Blorp. Okay, so that guy extended his knee. So he's in flexion, right? Remember, flexion versus extension when we studied muscles. Flexion is when we decrease the angle of a joint. So I'm at, for my hands, for instance, I'm at 180 degrees. If I go like this, now I'm at 90 degrees. So I decreased the angle. That's called flexion. When I increase the angle, that's called extension. So his knee, when it's bent and he's sitting, it's like this. So he's in flexion. And then I tapped his knee and he went like this. He extended it. So I went from 90 degrees sitting to 180. So flexion is decreasing the angle, extension is increasing. So we see that there. All right, so now we're going to do calcaneal reflex. So should we use the broad or the pointed? I don't know, so I'm going to guess. I'm going to try pointed this time because I'm not sure. Oh man, it's incorrect. Well, that's okay. Maybe it's the metallic tip. I don't think so, but I'm pretty sure it's this. Let's try that. Broad. Okay, phew, it's the broad side. All right, great. So then I can continue. See what I mean? Students ask every semester about these and about the case studies. Oh man, but I don't really have much of a medical background. I'm not even taking this for medical. I'm just doing this for a science credit. You know, that's okay. These are set up for learning. They're not set up for, like I say, being like, So again, I don't expect you to I don't expect all my students to have a medical background. It's kind of why you're here, right? To get one. Some of you do have that experience. So some of you have only seen, this hammer as a patient, and you've maybe only gotten hit on the front of the kneecap, and that's it. So anyway. Again, we're going after tendons. Boop. So again, if I hit it up here, nothing's going to happen. If I hit it down here, nothing's going to happen. I got to get that tendon. And remember, that's called the Achilles tendon. There we go. So notice when I hit that, he goes into a position of kind of like pointing his toes away from his body, kind of like standing on his tiptoes. So we call that plantar flexion. So when we look, so the calcaneal reflex should give us what's called plantar flexion. If we click that and nothing happens, or if we click that and he does the opposite action, then we might have some spinal cord issues. All right, now we've got one more, I believe. Plantar reflex. So bottom of the feet, plantar reflex. This one, we're not going to whack it like we've been doing with the hammer. This time, there's one part we haven't used yet, and that's that metallic tip. So that's what we're going to use to do the plantar reflex. The metallic tip is used to move over areas of skin. In this reflex, you run the metallic tip across the sole of the foot. All right, so it says select the starting point of the correct pathway to slide the hammer. Oh, so notice you've got three possible pathways. How do you know what the correct pathway is? Well, let's see. You don't unless you've worked in the clinic. So, what we want to do is we usually do this test to check for like spina bifida. We want to, in infants, babies, they call this the Babinski reflex. So, we generally want to see if we get the toes to curl when we run the hammer along. See how the toes curled? Okay, so that's a positive Babinski sign. Boop. So that's what should happen. Now, if let me go over to this one. Notice nothing happened. I go to this one, nothing happened. That's because these two pathways, we don't use those to test the Babinski sign or to test for um, flexion of the toes, gripping. Okay. So in an infant, their lower spinal cord should close up. And so when I do this, I should see that happen with the infant. If it doesn't happen, that's a negative for the Babinski. And so that could mean we've got some lower spinal cord problems. So anyway, that's when this, so we don't oftentimes do this test on adults. Um, unless we think there may be some spinal cord damage, lower spinal cord damage. All right, so plantar reflex. Okay, so plantar flexion of the toes. So let's look at it again. So you did flexion, right? The dorsiflexion is splaying out. Okay, let's see. And that's that. You don't have to do anything else from here. You've completed. Oh, and by the way, this Babinski, sometimes if you do that, you'll get no response, but sometimes you'll get that dorsiflexion, the splaying out of the big toe, go the opposite direction too. That's not that we don't want that either. We want to see the grip when I run along the lateral edge of the sole of the foot and up toward the big toe like that. I should get kind of a grasping action with the toes. All right, so you don't have to print anything off. You don't have to do anything else from here. You don't have to save it as a PDF. If you wanted to save it as a PDF, you would just hit print, and then you come up here and click Save as PDF, and then save. Yes, but I don't require drop boxes. This tells me and shows me I can access everything you did. Um, so anyway, questions on McGraw-Hill. Okay. Now let me, and again, they take some of them take, that one's one of the shorter ones, I would say. Some of them take a little longer. So, OpenStax, anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes. And again, it depends on how much of the reading stuff you do at the front end and how much of those aspects you get into. So yeah, here's OpenStax. So we use this second edition, the orange one. So I would, you can go over to table of contents and scroll down. Well, there we go. Okay. So notice nervous system covers a lot of stuff. So it's massive. We just did a little bit of this sensory and motor exam. So if you wanted to go further and read about what we did in just now in the lab, that's where that info is going to be contained. Okay. Um, so for general, you would have done this, the basic structures, some of the tissue aspects. Maybe a little bit on action potential. You want to watch my videos for advanced, my lecture videos. I talk about all of this stuff. So if you need to get caught up a little bit or reviewed with nervous system, you can watch my videos on the nervous system, Unit 1, Module 1, Unit 1 video. Um, but yeah, if I click on one of these, I click divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Um, Again, the beauty of OpenStax, get rid of that. The beauty of OpenStax is they embed video links. You'll find wonderful illustrations and images. Um, this is a lot like what we just looked at. Update, I could click. Well, when this comes up, if I click it, it's just going to basically refresh the page. So, what could have happened is another faculty member could have gone in and added some details somewhere, added in a couple of words. And so, the thing about OpenStax is it's a collective of faculty members from around the world who it's kind of like Wikipedia, where we are able to go in and kind of alter the info. All right. So anyway, these are some of the things that physiologically speaking, I talk about in the lecture videos, and then like I say, you can go back through here and get any of the extra details. I also wanted to remind you as well. Let me go back over here. The Padlets also have wonderful. Oh, it lets me do that. Yeah, I guess it does. Okay, open a new window. Excellent. Okay, so this first one, these short videos are wonderful. The crash course will give you a good, uh, update on the nervous system stuff. Um, anyway, all of these are good. This one again goes with the case study one potentially. Nervous system overview. This is a website. Most of my Padlet stuff are videos, but this is a website. So this will break down some of the basics of the nervous system for you. It's a very good review. It's got good illustrations. And this is this is hey you, what just happened there? Partners. This article. Anyway, I don't know what happened there. This table here, this is important to understand. It looks like a lot, but again, we go through this in general. Nervous system's central and peripheral. What makes up the center? Brain, spinal cord, and that's it. You can stop there, talk a little bit about what each one, remember what each one does. Peripheral remembers just all of your nerves, and we have two different types of nerves. They're either motor or sensory, and which we discussed today. And again, this is that uh, automatic nervous system and somatic nervous system. Okay, from the motor. Somatic is voluntary. This is your skeletal muscles. Autonomic is everything else. This is your heart rate, your blood pressure, your respiratory, your filtration. This is everything. Fight or flight is there sympathetic. This elevates everything except digestion. It basically stops digestion in its tracks. But then parasympathetic is going to be your normal state. This is your homeostatic state. This is the range you're in, hopefully, right now. Hopefully, you guys are all in this parasympathetic spot. Now, if I said, oh, books away, pop quiz, this quiz I'm going to give you right now is going to determine the entire future of your life. That might get your heart. I'm not going to do that. I would never do that to you. But that is the sympathetic division might kick in, right? Or if you were driving and a deer ran across the road and everything gets triggered, it goes up, it elevates. That's that fight or flight. We also have the freeze response that we talk about, right? So, so anyway, paddle it up. And remember, you don't have to comment. You can get beneficial. All right, lastly, today I want to talk a little bit about case study one. This is again a question that students always ask. because I kind of segued in or kind of led into it a few minutes ago. But, all of you have different backgrounds. All of you have different intentions and reasons for being here and interests and et cetera. And so I would get asked about the case studies. Well, I don't really have a medical background. I don't really know what to do. Well, you have a human background. You've been alive, so you've probably been to a doctor at some point, or at least have a somewhat of an understanding of the very basics of how things work in a clinical setting. So the idea really is for you to just kind of start to get a deeper understanding of how things work in the clinical setting. Some of you are already there. Some of you are, you know, completely green and have no idea what it's like. So this is the opportunity for all of you and any of you to really kind of dive in and see what happens at the clinic. And then I really want you to um, make some educated guesses along the way. That's what. So educated guessing may involve, a little bit of extra research, right? You may need to dig a little deeper, go into um, the Google machine or the YouTube machine. For the most part, for the most part, a lot of these questions are a little bit subjective. In other words, there maybe isn't a right or wrong answer. It's simply, what do you think right now? Based on the information I've given you, based on your background, what does Sally think? You. What does Amber, you think? What does Kaio think? Right? What do you think may be going on here? Maybe you have no clue. You just need more info. It's just usually the case. Don't put that every time. Put an actual like, man, it seems like it could be this, but it's pointing at this, and judging by these, this, so anyway, there's a million ways to do these case studies. So typically how they roll, and again, they're not all the same. They're different, but in construction. But generally speaking, they're very similar to this first one. Got a patient comes in, they have a little dialogue with the physician or the nurse, and then we get a series of questions. So that's what we have here. We don't know. Got issues. This is kind of how the clinic works. It's kind of weird. Like people come in just randomly. We've maybe seen them, we maybe haven't, and they're going to present something odd. We don't know what it is. They don't know what it is. It's why they made it to us. It's why they're here. So oftentimes we're not given a lot of to go from. So yeah, it's okay. You're not going to be wrong. The only way you're wrong is if you don't do it. All right. So generally speaking, the case studies, you're going to get 20 out of 20 if you do them. Now, there are certain questions that have right answers and wrong answers. Am I going to take off points? Probably not. It depends on how egregious the errors are. But for the most part, you're going to get 18, 19, 20, somewhere around there for your case studies if you do them. But remember, when you get feedback, I don't generally for case studies, I won't give you just a score. You won't get a 20 out of 20. You're going to get a 20 out of 20, and then you're going to have feedback. So please read the feedback, okay? Because within that feedback, there are going to be some corrections potentially that you missed that I'm correcting you on. I'm not taking off points. I want you to read the feedback and make that correction in your mind. Okay? So yeah, please do these. They're the students enjoy the case studies the most in this class. They get the most out of them. Yeah, and they're only 20 points. I mean, I could make them worth more. I could make them worth less. The points are irrelevant. You really just, I mean, the labs are worth 30 and you hardly have to do anything. So, I mean, it all balances out. Probably could make the labs worth 20 and the case studies worth 30. But again, it doesn't matter. The points don't matter. What it matters is the experience that you get from it. And the experience that you get from it when you perform the assignment is you're going to learn. So if I just say, oh, you get points, 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 then your only intention is to get points. And I don't like that. That doesn't help me as a medical doctor in the clinic with a bunch of medical assistants and nurses who got a bunch of A's, but they don't know what they're doing. That doesn't help me. 4.0 GPA in the clinic means zilch. I'll take a 3.1 GPA and somebody who knows what the hell they're doing because they are more interested in learning than in getting good grades. You guys dig? All right. This isn't free Blizzard from Dairy Queen and a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut because you got straight A's middle school. This is real life. I need to know this for my profession. The numbers and the grades and the that just comes with it. You do what I tell you to do, and you do it the way you need to do it to understand it for your livelihood. The A will just come. So don't worry about points. You get points by doing stuff, but it's part and parcel. What I need you to do is understand. All right. So let's see. Points are nice though, right? It's validation. So you do get validated. I'll validate the hell out of you guys with points. So if that's what you need to be validated and to move forward, I got your back on that. But I need you to validate yourself by understanding the material at least a little bit. So you're building a toolbox. So when I interview you for a job in a year or so, when you got your NCLEX done and you're all certified up and registered and ready to hit the ground running and start working. When I interview you, we're going to talk about some of this. We're going to talk about school a little bit. We're going to talk about the nervous system. We're going to talk about your experience with some of your courses. We're not going to look at your, I don't care about your GPA. I'm going to ask you some basic questions about how you critically think. And then I'm going to hire you based on that. I've never looked at a person's transcripts, only to see that they have the courses, but not that the grades on it. I've had amazing, amazing employees that were, middle of their class. Most of them. Top of the class is great, too. I'm not trying to short sell that. But just know you're here to understand and grasp concepts. The grades follow. All right. So there are questions associated with that. So dig deep if you need to. There we go. The diagnostic table, you don't need to use this. You don't need this. Or we just, it's there if you decide to organize and arrange things. So here's what that looks like. This is not required for you to fill out. Okay. It's simply a flow chart if you feel like using it. So we basically this case study looks at these scenarios, these possible conditions. Again, we've got a patient, we don't know her, we don't know why she's here. She's got these symptoms, she's got a vague family history to go off of. So we're just kind of shooting darts here. So um, we're going to start with some of these possibilities and basically play the elimination game. That's what we do in the clinic. Do we eliminate it? Yep. All right. So anyway, you can use that if you want. Not required. You don't have to turn it in. Against these questions are identical to the questions that are in the case study. Okay. So that's how those roll. Now I want to um, go back over here. Course YouTube channel link. So if we check this out, hopefully it doesn't start getting crazy. There we go. So again, if you have questions about some of the basics that we did last week, I have a recording, not from our classroom, but it's short 10-minute recording. There's another one that's a little longer, and then another one even yet longer. So all three of these generally talk about the same stuff. So this is going to have Blackboard stuff in it, so it may not be relevant. But I leave it in there anyway. I wanted to mention too, everything is read only. So if you want to type your answers in, you have to remember make a copy or download this as a Word doc or a rich text format. Either way, you're going to need to you're going to need to get your own copy to type in, and then this is what you'll submit into the Dropbox. Okay, your copy, not mine. This is read only. So um, I prefer you do these. By the way, I prefer PDF. Brightspace I found reads PDFs the best. So when you download this as a Word doc, or you make a copy, whatever you do, try if you remember, please save it as a PDF. Because I have no trouble reading those. Um, so PDF is ideal. Okay. I'll take exams. Yeah, I should probably update these because I think these are Blackboard. So I should probably, but no, it doesn't matter. Here's the nervous system part one, nervous system part two. Again, you can watch those, get those going. They're fairly short. And then this case study one starts at 5:18. Looks like that's about right where I am. There we go. So, so anyway, so you can, I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. I'm not gonna sit here and go right back through. There's my face. That's is me. I know it's got a big beard and a red and excited and pumped up and all of that. So, but yeah, you can watch that. It's about 28 minutes. Um, that will give you a lot of good details on what I expect uh, to study. Okay? So anyway. There you have it. Again, course YouTube channel. It's got everything you need to succeed in the course. And yeah, you can research and go other places too. Not just mine, which it sends me back over. I wanted to show you in my table of contents. I might have shown you this last week, but I hit you with so much info. You know, that first day is always intense, and then you walk away, your heads are spinning, you're like, God, what did that guy say about that one thing that one time? So I thought I had there it is. Helpful web links. Um, if you click that, because maybe you don't like my voice, right? Maybe you don't like my approach. Maybe you're kind of like, ugh, I prefer something else to learn this. But I do like YouTube. So maybe I prefer this, Amoeba Sisters. So you can click that again. Where was I? What was I doing? I'm in the helpful web links um, tab. So I put a bunch of other A&P uh, folks that are just phenomenal at what they do. They have amazing videos. So here's the Amoeba Sisters. I have the link landing on their playlists. Cell transport. Look here, look at this. Amoeba Sisters in Portuguese, Kyle. Pretty freaking cool, right?
Yeah,
Um,
same here. You said you have in Portuguese?
yeah, do you see this? Amoeba Sisters in Portuguese. So you can
Oh,
watch.
okay.
Yeah, you can watch Hindi if you speak Hindi, Espanol. So anyway, some of these. So yeah, kind of cool. So my point is, there's definitely more than just me out there for fire, and people who have way better graphics and way better ways of explaining. So anyway, this is a group. It's female voices with really cool presentations. So that's one of them. I just put them alphabetically, so I don't. It's not like this one's better than the other one or anything like that. Anatomy Zone. It's like Golden Corral. Some of you like the dessert bar, like the dessert bar. But anyway, you get the drift. Um, so yeah, look at this one, Anatomy Zone. This one's really good for general EMP, but also, for your review. Look at neuroanatomy, just a really nice, like this is what we're doing right now. So if you can't remember some of the basics of what we did in general with anatomy, man, this is a good spot to be in right here. Look at this stuff. Anatomy Zone's probably one of the better uh, YouTube channels for anatomy. At least for my buck. Anyway, I'm not going to go through all of these. You can do that, but Crash Course, I know you guys are probably all familiar with that. Um, Grow Your Gray Matter. Yeah. Just more kind of cool, oddball stuff from Frank. So, um, cool stuff. Please, all of you are doing EMP because you have to, but I know all of you also kind of like it too. You do. You really are interested in the human body. You're wondering what the hell's going on inside of you, what's going on with all these other people who are neuroscientifically challenged. YouTube playlist. I also like I have them in my uh, the Padlets, but these 2-minute neuroscience are really good too. These this for neuroscience. So remember this too for when you do for your pharmacology, when you're doing your microbiology, when you're doing all your courses, man, YouTube's just got some amazing stuff going for it. So, oh, there you go. Look at this. OpenStax Physiology Lectures playlist. These aren't my lectures. Again, if you're like, voice sends me into a state of panic. I hope that's not the case, but if it is, you can, like I say, you can watch uh, Not All's Biology. This guy does OpenStax discussions. So you can, and again, not a lot of views. So I mean, this guy's just like I am, basically. Just some dude that's lecturing in OpenStax. So there you go. Just another person, somebody else that you can, and he uses the OpenStax. I use my own slides. That's why some students like this dude. But like I say, he's a teacher. I don't know him. He's somebody. But I thought his videos were cool, and he used OpenStax, so that's why I put him on there. NCLEX review stuff. Don't forget about that. I'm sure you haven't. Yeah. Professor Dave's also really good. So that's my point is all of you have different priorities. All of you have time limits, time constraints, time things going on. So, so yeah, physiology, introductory physiology, clinical physiology. Okay. She does anatomy as well. Okay. Again, all of this stuff is very, very similar to what I talk about. Just a different perspective, just getting it from somebody else. Sometimes it clicks better. See, like neurophysiology. These are good ones. Real good videos. You can see I've watched them. Endocrine too. So anyway, do you guys have any questions? Because I think I'm good. I'm gonna leave you guys alone, let you enjoy your day. I noticed some of you have, let me check this. Some of you have submitted case study 1, so that's good. So I'll be grading these this weekend. So I noticed, let's see. 17. So that's been about a week ago. Nice. Yeah, usually I grade on the weekends. I usually try to wait till I have more to do too. So these two just came in yesterday, and then this one just this morning. Wow, 9:22. So excellent. So yeah, please take time today. You still have if we get out 11:20, but I'm going to end here in a couple of minutes. So then you can have some extra time to really work on things and get things going. Okay, good. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Um, so good. Yep. All right, you guys. So I'm gonna stop recording.